So imagine walking into work every morning feeling inspired, respected, and driven to do your best, simply because how your boss leads the team. Now think about all those times you felt stifled or undervalued or even dreaded going into work. I know I've been there. What is the difference? The difference is leadership style. In today's video, we're going to dive into the fascinating world of leadership styles, why they matter, how they can make or break an organization, and most importantly, which style might help you become the leader that people love to follow. We're going to go through all of the leadership styles, and I'm going to give you some tips on how to use them and how to identify with one and apply them to the people on your team for the best results. And before we jump into today's topic, let me welcome you to the Leadership with a Purpose YouTube channel. Whether you're looking to grow as a professional, enhance your leadership skills, or simply find more purpose in your day-to-day work, you've come to the right place. I'll work with you to create a path towards success together. I'm Robert, and let's jump right in. So to start off, let's ask the question, what is the right leadership style? There's no easy answer. The reality of the situation is everyone responds to a different type of leadership style. And there are leaders that have been successful in all of the leadership styles, so there's no winning formula. I think the best leaders, the ones that are most respected and are most effective, have learned really well what the leadership styles are and where their strengths and weaknesses are, and know when to apply each one of them in a given situation. And I think learning about the leadership styles and understanding which one you identify with the most, which one is your default style, and really leaning into it and understanding where it works and where it doesn't and how to best apply it is going to make you successful in the long term. So as you go through learning about leadership styles and thinking about like where you apply each of them, don't think of them as being good or bad. Think of them as just being one more arrow in your quiver that you have to use to lead your teams. The first leadership style we're going to talk about is the coercive leadership style. These are the types of leaders that are the do-as-I-say type people. They're very directive. They rely on their authority, their title, the power that they have, sometimes their influence to really dictate orders to their team. They already know what they want done, how they want it done, and when, and you are just a vehicle for executing their orders. Doesn't really work well if you practice this consistently, like if this is your default, but it does work really well in small doses. You'll find that if you're consistently using this method of leadership, you're going to burn people out, it's going to kill morale, and it's absolutely going to kill productivity because you've taken all of the creativity and the thinking and what interests people in coming to work out of the equation. And it's annoying. That said, it's good in small doses. There are times when you as a leader need to be directive and you need things to be done in a certain way. So don't be afraid to use this. But just be knowledgeable of what you're doing when you do it. I once had a leader who was a CTO that he made it very obvious when he was switching to this leadership style because he would say something like, okay, I'm putting my CTO hat on today. And when we would hear that, we knew that we were going to get some direction and we just needed to go with it. Disagree and commit, as you'll hear me say. And I thought that was a really clever way of kind of softening the blow of like, hey, this isn't a democracy today. I just need to execute and here's how it needs to be done. So think about that and apply it. Now going on the complete opposite spectrum here is the authoritative style. These are the leaders, that you kind of see in the imagery and inspirational like LinkedIn posts where the leader's pulling the rope along with the team. These are the folks that are, let me show you the way. They're going to get in the trenches with their team members, collaborate, build respect, and really guide the team by doing hands-on leadership. And this works really well in small, tight-knit teams. If you're, launching a startup and you've got a group of 5 people and everybody works well together. They've got the seniority to operate independently. This works really well. But as you scale this out to larger teams, you start getting into 20, 40, 100 people, this no longer works. You have to start using this very sparingly when you need to, correct a problem or fix a cultural issue within the team. Or maybe you're doing something really innovative. But to consistently apply this day to day at scale, you're just not going to have the time to do it. So, works well small teams, not so well big teams. Now, my favorite leadership style, as you hear me say it all the time, people first leadership, is the affiliative style. This is where you build strength as a leader by focusing on establishing relationships, empowering people, and rather than simply assigning or giving direction, you're really asking a lot of questions and helping people get to the answer themselves. And when it comes time to make a big decision, you tend to lean towards making a decision that benefits the human being more than the business. This works really well at scale when you have large teams, because if you can build a nice foundation and build relationships, get people to trust you, they'll naturally become loyal and take your direction really well. Where this runs into problems is when you start to get to a point where you need to make a change. Maybe the organization is shuffling people around, or there's been an acquisition. Maybe an influential leader quits. You're going to find that those teams are going to fall apart very quickly because what was gluing them together was that one person or those leaders on the team. And if they're no longer in a position where they can lead this way, it's going to fall apart. So it's a really high risk strategy. But if you, like anything, apply it in the right places and use it as a tool instead of a default, it's a really powerful, weapon in your arsenal of leadership. The democratic style has gotten really popular over the last few years, particularly in the technology industry. This is the idea that you give everybody a voice, much like the political system in a democracy. These types of leaders generally bring in lots of people, take lots of input and feedback before making a decision. They usually like to make sure that people's voices are heard and everyone's opinions are considered. This is a dangerous one. You really want to be careful with the democratic leadership style. If you're going to use it, focus on using it in decisions that you have to make that are binary, a yes or no, or an A or a B. If you start getting into ambiguous situations where maybe you have an array of potential solutions for a problem, maybe on a customer project or to resolve a conflict, you're just going to get so much variety of input, and no matter which decision you make, you're going to make everyone mad. On the opposite spectrum of that, over time, these democratic leadership styles tend to lead towards teams having this idea of groupthink. They all tend to align to one vision, and then you get this really myopic view of the world in your team, which leads to irrational decision making. The team stops providing input that can be in the best interest of the business. It usually tends to be in the best interest of their feelings, which a business doesn't work that way. So use this one thoughtfully, but really I would avoid it. And if this is your default, I would really try to pivot to something else like an affiliative leadership style or a coaching leadership style, which we'll talk about in a moment, because you're going to dig yourself into a hole here. Now here's a fun one. This is the pacesetting style. These are the types of leaders that demand excellence in everything you do. The bar is set very high. Decisions are made quickly, think of it like a drumhead trial and everything. Decisions fast, punishments severe, consequences are high. These leaders have a relentless drive to be successful, and they generally have a bias for action. The benefit is productivity tends to be really high because a business is all about taking risks, and the more risks that you take, then the more likelihood of you taking a risk that pans out. They make quick decisions, and they deal with accountability right away. If somebody screws something up, you're going to know about it quickly. So it tends to be a very effective leadership style. The problem with this, if you're doing it consistently, is you're going to burn people out. Not everyone can operate at that same level. It's really a special trait that people have when they work well in this, pace-setting style. But the vast majority of us don't operate this way. We can do it in short bursts, particularly if it's something we're really interested in. But again, you will burn people out. You're probably going to burn yourself out. And eventually, all innovation from your team is going to stop because they're going to be so focused on getting from task to task and achieving the results that they're not going to have the time to think and really evaluate what they're working on and innovate. So this is really powerful to use when you're trying to get to a goal, get that customer deal closed, or, achieve some revenue target, or get to a vision in the last quarter of the year. But to apply this globally on every little thing, not going to work. And the last leadership style, and probably one of my favorites, is the coaching style. These are the people that really take ownership of their team members and their development. You're going to be investing in their continuous improvement, in sharing knowledge, both in extracting it from them, but also, creating a culture of sharing knowledge with other people throughout the teams. You're going to have a bias towards creating mentorship programs and really cultivating a workplace culture of improvement. This works really well with people who are generally resistant to change. If you've got employees that maybe want to get to that next level, get that next promotion, but they're not doing any of the things or aren't in a position to command such a promotion or compensation change. Coaching style is a great way to approach that because you can break down the goals that they're after into something that's manageable, and then coach them along the path to achieving those goals. And not only you're setting them up to succeed in achieving what they're aiming for, but also you're setting them up to be able to do it on their own in the future. Now, the downside to a coaching style is the time investment. You're going to have to invest significant time meeting with people, managing goals, getting people resources to achieve those goals. So if you're a dedicated people manager, this is a great one to really learn and understand. If managing people is a small part of your job, then use this one sparingly as needed, but you'll probably work better in the affiliative leadership style. Now, as we close up talking about leadership styles, a little shameless plug. If you want to learn more about leadership styles, I wrote the book Leadership with a Purpose. This book is focused on helping leaders, particularly those in the technology space that are managing engineers and technical people. Chapter 10 is all about management styles and goes really deep into leadership styles, how to identify them, what the pros and cons are, and how you can apply them in various situations to motivate and inspire your teams. It's available on Amazon. I'll put the link in the description, and I hope you enjoy.